Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. Today, I am still currently sick, so we're going to have to make do with that. But we're a little bit tortured today. I have my But Daddy, I love him bouquet. Because we're going to talk about some tortured weight loss aspects. And I think about this stuff a lot and I want to talk about it. And I started to, I was looking at fat acceptance content, which, by the way, the movement is pretty dead at the moment, in my opinion. Like, I am not seeing anything new. So, yeah, but as I've said many a time, I even said this on Angelica's channel. I don't care if they don't post anything. I'll still fight them. Still find you. I will find you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding, actually. But I'm just kidding about being extra. But what I want to say is, I think regardless of if new content is being posted or not, there's still a lot of ideas out there. And this idea of, we're going to call it tortured weight loss on this channel, or this kind of like quality of really, really tripping about romance within weight loss, and really tripping about the weight loss itself, like as if the weight loss itself is a trauma. And I've said this before, like I plan on going into this probably a lot deeper. And, I am planning on even looking at some weight loss content and things like that, where I feel like this sort of tortured weight loss aspect is major, and it creates a huge deterrent culturally for weight loss, for especially people who are much bigger. I want to talk about these things more. So I'm going to start now, basically. We're going to just kind of dip our toes in, and let's talk about this. So this video, it's about a woman who, I guess she liked a guy, he liked her back, and then she lost, like it didn't work out or whatever, then she lost weight, then he came back or something. Okay, so you can kind of see the tortured aspect right off the bat. But we're going to go ahead and get into it. I want to talk about this, and I know that a lot of the things that I'm going to say probably will piss off fat activists, because, and maybe even some non-fat activists, because I don't agree with weight loss as a trauma. I just don't. And so on this channel, we're going to start busting that kind of myth. It's kind of a myth, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and get started. The comment here says, well, yes, he wasn't attracted to you. It doesn't mean you're not worth anything. It just means he wasn't attracted to your body. So let's see what she has to say.
I'm not sure if it was your intention, but this read to me that you think that maybe this is the only experience I'd had which made me feel unworthy of romantic love or sexual desire. And I would love it if it was my only example, but unfortunately it's not. I have a catalogue of experiences I could be pulling from. And then your second part, it just means he wasn't attracted to your body. To make this really, really clear, he was attracted to me when I was fat. The reason why I made him move was because I was so sure I knew what the outcome was going to be, because based on his behaviours, his actions, what he'd said to me, I was so sure that that's what we both wanted. And I thought the reason why he hadn't made the move himself was because, maybe he was shy, timid, I don't know, didn't know how to verbalise it. So I was like, well, I'll do it. And so when he rejected me, I was really confused, because it just didn't work with everything that had happened before that moment. And so when he did come back after I'd lost the weight, my initial reaction was excitement and happiness. And then after a while, it dawned on me. I realised that, it's because I'm now thinner.
So I just want to say that already there's some conflicting narratives going on in the brain. I want us to understand collectively that when it comes to dating and romance and relationships, marriage, etc., there's a lot of different things involved in a decision. A lot. And if we're both honest, or all of us are honest, I'm saying both as in me and her, if we're all honest, many of those factors often don't have anything to do with us. It could be completely the other person, and vice versa. Maybe there will be a huge list of reasons why she personally could not be with this guy at this particular point in time that have nothing to do with him. I think it's always important to understand that when it comes to romance and love and marriage and these types of things, choice is important. And it has to be made freely and it has to be mutual. And that's where we have to start with. So when it comes to the toxic ritualistic mindset, we always go towards the body. The body is the problem. The body is the issue. The body is this. The body is this. The body is this. The body might not be that big of an issue. It could be totally different stuff. It could be financial. It could be distance. It could be trauma that the person has or that you have. It could have to do with so many different aspects. It could do with personality differences that are just not necessarily coinciding at the time. It could have to do with so many different things. So it's really, really important to remember that our current weight is only one part of the equation. And quite frankly, at certain weights, it's not as important as at other weights. Some weights it can be important because it can have to do with like lifestyle factors, what's available to you. And I've also described numerous times that when you get to be a certain size, it can change your personality and it can change things about you, not necessarily like to your core, but just it gives you a quality of being constantly frazzled or constantly upset or constantly in pain, constantly just, you have to, when you're super morbidly obese, you have to create an entire matrix to survive on a day-to-day basis. And I don't think a lot of people understand that because it's not always something you think about. But when it was gone, when I lost the weight and that matrix no longer was necessary and it had to go, it created an identity crisis in me. I told you guys, or it started the process. The process of it going away started that because it was so bizarre. And it's kind of like the box I was living in suddenly ripped open and I was completely overwhelmed, especially this year. And so I think we have to understand that these issues run deep. And so when somebody loses weight, it is not only skin deep. And I need this to be understood because especially if somebody has a toxic ritualistic past, especially if somebody has deep hormonal problems or issues that are creating that super morbid obesity, which again, it is very intense to be super morbidly obese. It takes a lot to get there and to maintain it. It is just a reality. So when it comes to getting out of that, you are really in a totally different framework after being out of that. And that does include in dating. It changes everything because all these things that went into being with you, or all these things, and again, a lot of them not even skin deep, a lot of them interpersonal issues, a lot of them personality issues, a lot of them overly rigid thinking, survivalism, right? In some cases, hyperreactivity, in other cases, hyperrigidity, In other cases, it has to do with extreme insecurity. There's a lot of issues that can go into being that size, as well as deep trauma responses and other things depending on why somebody is that size, which it could be a lot of different reasons, so I don't know why I'm saying exactly, but it could be a lot of different reasons, meaning that, you can't, there's really two things I'm trying to say. You can't make a blanket statement about weight loss in general, because some people, they just have a hormonal issue, they fix it, it goes away, it's done. I still think there would be a transformational factor in terms of certain aspects of their life if getting out of supermorbid obesity. Other people, such as myself, there are deep hormonal issues and trauma that combine and create an entire mental matrix that has to be dismantled. And that once is dismantled, it totally changes everything. And not in a negative way, in a positive way. Very positive. Let's just be real about that. I would never go back to the matrix I had when I was super morbidly obese. Not only is it completely obsolete at this point, but it was exhausting, and there really wasn't a lot of room in my life for anything else, because it is a lot. It's a lot to be in it, and it's a lot to get out of it. So I really do advise you guys to get out. But if you think about it in that way, could it make sense why dating somebody when you're no longer in that category, it could be totally different? Maybe you have more time. Maybe you have more ease in the way that you're talking to somebody. Maybe you're less insecure. Maybe you're more open. Maybe you have more money. It's very expensive to be super morbidly obese. It's very expensive to maintain it, and it can get in the way of work. So it can be harder to earn and more expensive. You see, in a lot of cases, people get hit on both ends. So maybe you have more money. So then there's all these things of having a bit more money. Maybe you're less stressed. Maybe you're more together, right? You have all these other layers. I mean, people do not understand how damaging it is to be super morbidly obese. It is very, very damaging. And dating is just one aspect of life that it affects, but it is one that gets a lot of attention. So we're going to talk about it, and I do think it is important. But what I'm trying to say mostly is that this is all so much deeper than skin deep. And these are all things that have to do with being bigger. All of them. Maybe it doesn't hit every single super huge person in this way, in every single way, but there's still likely to be some combination of these factors. It's very likely. And so it isn't cute to live in this false reality that it is not a big deal to be super morbidly obese in the dating world. It is a big deal. It doesn't mean you can't find somebody. It doesn't mean you can't make something work. It doesn't mean that. But it does mean that for the vast majority in that position, it makes it much more difficult. And you can even slip into toxic patterns like, savior victim complexes, codependency. All these things are so much easier. Controlling dynamics, abuse, all of that. It's so much easier if you're super morbidly obese. Oftentimes, we're not thinking as clearly. I talk about on this channel the hypothyroid haze. It affects your thinking, puts you in a brain fog. I talk about the toxic ritualistic mindset, E followed by the letter D, especially with B followed by the letter E followed by the letter D. Delusion is a symptom because the actual disorder is a delusion in and of itself. Do you know how easy it is for those delusional traits and delusional mindsets to be put onto dating life, to be put onto your dating life? It's so fucking easy. It is extremely easy. So it really is not a good thing. I'm not saying it's gonna hurt everybody the same and all that stuff. Remember, this is all individual, but I am just breaking down all the possible reasons that have nothing to do with appearance of why you could struggle with dating at that size, which there's a long list. I hope I made that clear.
I had more societal value being in a thinner body.
That is a toxic ritualistic mindset rooted in comparison, rooted in being overtly competitive on a, physical form level. I have to be careful with what I say sometimes. YouTube gets a little trippy sometimes. But we have to be really aware that that is a toxic ritualistic mindset. That is not normal. That is disordered. It is not a normal way to look at things. I need you to understand that. And if you can't, oh no, it's this, oh it's that, I don't care. I don't care. You're still wrong. It's still wrong. It doesn't matter. I mean, there has never been any historical anything based on size. You need to understand that it is a disorder. If you are thinking that, it is not real. I understand. I told you, it is delusional. It is a delusion. You are delusional if you believe that. Totally delusional. And you need to understand that because it's likely affecting your behaviors around food. It's one of many delusions you likely have. So this societal value, blah, 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 no. Will we say people treat you differently? Sure. Will we say people treat you better? No. No. It's different. And again, people love to shit all over my negativity, but hey, my negativity, it keeps me real. And as I've lost weight, I've seen, yes, I get treated better in some ways and I get treated worse in others. And I'll keep telling you, the further I go and all that stuff, even though I am currently plateaued, I'm taking a break from the weight loss for probably the rest of the month or Christmas or whatever. I can't right now. I just can't. But I'll keep it real. You can always trust Negative Queen over here to be like, no. Better in this way, worse in this way. Because that's the reality of it. Because I want us to keep a realistic mindset. Okay? No, how it is better is you're healthier. That's just better. It's better to be healthier. But I don't appreciate these toxic mindsets around size. It's not helpful. These value statements around it, they're not helpful. They really, really aren't. They only breed resentment, and in worst cases, they affect your eating behavior. Be careful with that.
And he now wanted to be associated with me.
Oh, look, and now it can even mess up relationships even after losing weight because you still have those mindsets. So you can't let it go. Is this something he said to you? Or is it something you're assuming? It's really important to ask that question. I can assure all of you, I am not ever going to be this person. I may make fun of this type of person in the future. I do have some satirical content planned around this type of thing because I think the mindset needs to be made fun of. Because when we lose weight, when we get out of all this, we have to move on with our lives. And we have to find peace with the past and find peace with where we came from. Because that peace, just like having muscle on the body, it's important to maintain that loss. Forgiveness is a huge part of weight loss. I know a lot of you guys are astrological girly pops. In my audience, they're both 12th house, babe. They're in the same house. And a lot of you guys are going to be like, what the hell is that? But if you know, you know. weight loss and forgiveness, 12th house, they are linked. They exist together. They're similar. All you guys need to know that aren't involved is that they're similar. They both have to do with letting go. You let go of the weight, you let go of past hurts. And oftentimes, people that lose weight, they have to. Because remember, we're kind of fasting when you're in a deficit. It is a very mild fast, and people think deeper in that state. So it's important. It's important to utilize the process because it's a tough process and you want to get everything out of it that you can. And when it's done, you want it to be done. Like I said, this is not going to be me. It will not be me. I'm not the one.
And that's ultimately what we're talking about. It's people's shame or avoidance of wanting to be associated with plus size people, especially to be attracted to plus size people, to fat people. Because like another experience I have is that I was the secret. Now I know a lot of fat people unfortunately have this experience of being the secret. Finding a partner, or having a partner who is attracted to you and wants to indulge in that attraction to you, wants a bit, a piece of you, but doesn't want anyone else to know. Doesn't want the public to know, doesn't want, their mates to know.
Okay, so let's talk about this too. Could that be the reason why somebody wants to keep you a secret? It could be, but could there be other reasons why too? Yeah. So let's lower it on the importance scale. There's a lot of reasons why people want to keep somebody a secret. Many. So obviously in my life and in terms of a lot of people that are gay, that can be a huge factor. But there has actually been a sort of societal pressure against it. There have been laws against it. There has been real prejudice against it. So in that case, it actually makes a lot more sense. But it is certainly a reason why you could be kept a secret. There are lots of other reasons too. Maybe it's your personality. Maybe people are embarrassed because of how you are. I know that's harsh. I'm just being real. That could be a reason why. Maybe it has to do with race in some cases. Maybe it has to do with plenty of other stuff. There's so many reasons why. There are a lot of different actual prejudices that exist that could have to do with wanting to keep something a secret. However, as I've established, when it comes to weight, that doesn't really apply here. Weight has never been that way. It just hasn't. It's a projection. You are projecting something onto it. And you need to understand it. So always be skeptical. I'm not saying that your weight can have nothing to do with it, but ask yourself, is this the only reason why I could be being kept a secret? Imagine if I viewed it that way, being gay. You really don't think that it's much more likely, in my case, that I would be kept a secret because of the sexuality aspect than the weight. It is drastically more likely. But I could see a toxic ritualistic self viewing weight as the number one reason when there's this huge other thing going on. It could be any reason. What if he's dating someone else, for example, and you don't know? I'm not saying, I'm just saying there's a lot of reasons. So take that down a notch on importance. I'm not saying weight isn't the reason. I'm saying, though, it's just one of many. And try to deprioritize it because it's not any more important than anything else. It isn't. Okay?
Doesn't want their family to know. And that does wonders for the self-esteem. I think about it from a place of like sympathy. I think it's really sad. I think it's really sad that, obviously my most sympathy comes to the fat people who are being used for someone else's needs and then not getting the respect they deserve. That's obviously where my number one empathy and sympathy goes. But then when I think about like, oh my God, but you feel so unsafe and so insecure in who you are as a person that you're so scared of what other people will think about you just because you have a fat partner. That you're someone that you actually fancy, maybe love, but you don't want to be associated with that person because of how other people view you. So you'll just deny yourself of that.
Like I said, I'd be very careful to project weight as the only reason or the main reason in a situation like that. There could be a lot of different reasons. Now, 1 second, I have to blow my nose and cough, etc. I will be right back. There could be a lot of reasons, okay? So be very, very wary of projecting that onto a person. And again, if somebody hasn't told you why, then you don't know why. I've had people in my life that have been kept a secret and they weren't fat. So I'm just saying, you need to be a little skeptical of always jumping to that as your first thought, okay?
That's apparently a more palatable option than actually just having a romantic connection with a fat person. Like, it's bizarre. And if you have family who you feel wouldn't, I don't know, approve of your partner because they are fat, then, I mean, they're not good people. So I am in a relationship, 9 years, we get married next year. I'm so fucking excited. I am going to be the hottest fat bride.
See, I just find it so strange that she's hung up on this or even talking about it. If you're in a relationship for 9 years and getting married, are you talking about, is this the guy that you're marrying or is this somebody totally different? It's just like, I don't have the full context, but I really hope it is someone else. But if it is the same person, how horrifying for you to still hold on to that almost 10 years later. Like, that is toxic ritualistic, babe. I don't care what you think about it. 10 years of thinking about this weight thing with some guy, or maybe with the guy you're currently with, depending on the situation. 10 years later. It's not going to be me, you guys. I'm telling you. Don't let it be you either.
You've ever fucking seen. I'm so excited. But we had a friend.
Over-identification. Just saying.
Who is an arsehole. Was an arsehole. We're no longer friends. You'll understand why in a sec. And he had a new girlfriend. And so the friend rings Graham to ask for Graham's advice on how Graham told his parents.
So it does seem like it is the same person. Gosh. Okay. I'm trying not to judge, but I'm judging a little bit. 10 years almost. And you're still hung up on that. This issue is just not important. It really isn't. If you got other stuff going on, you got other grudges to hold, you got other things to have issues with this guy, that's fine. But I can assure you that your weight is not important enough to hold on to. It is not an important issue. It just isn't. It's never going to be in the way of my dating life. It's never going to be in the way of anything in my life. Ever. because I'm letting go as I lose. I'm letting it go. Once I'm not fat anymore, I won't identify as it at all, and that's it. It's done. I'm not going to be like hung up on it in this way, and I don't think you should be either. I really don't.
I was fat. Because he needed to tell his parents that his new girlfriend was a bigger person. And apparently, that's something that he just assumed everyone would have to warn their parents about. And I'm like, well, why would you need to warn them? Like, what's their reaction? What's their reaction if you didn't warn them, if you just went in cold with your fat girlfriend? Would they be disappointed, disgusted? Would they just flat out reject her? Would they be mean? Would they be bullies? And these are not good people. I don't care if they're your fucking parents. They're not good people. The power of influence is unreal. You know, if you feel like your parents aren't going to approve of your romantic choices, or your friends are going to disapprove, or I don't know, anyone could like just disapprove, like your workmates, it will or could dissuade you from pursuing a relationship with someone you actually genuinely fucking like. And how pathetic is that? The reason why I think it's so important we speak about this is because when you're a fat person, you are made to feel so othered. And sometimes when we have these experiences, you can be made to feel like you're overreacting or being overly sensitive or reading.
I think what the bigger issue is that you can, sometimes when you're in this mindset, you can assume that thin people are never disapproved of by their partner's parents. You can assume that if you were to become thin, this isn't something you'd ever have to worry about. It's not true. Because it just isn't the thing. A lot of times with parents and things like that, you have to take it with a grain of salt, because for a lot of parents, it doesn't matter who it is. They're not going to be good enough. Which I don't think is a good thing, but it is a reality. And maybe it's a reality if I ever have kids one day, maybe I'll understand it, you know? So it is what it is. But I am just saying, if it isn't the way, it would probably be something else with that guy's parents. It's common. It is. Everybody has flaws. And if it's not something that's worn on the outside, then it will be something inside, or a perceived flaw in some cases. So I understand the frustration of a societal pressure probably more than most. I do. Trust me, I do. But I think part of growing up and part of coming into your own is understanding that you have to make these decisions for yourself. And that a lot of times, if it's a good thing, if it's meant to be, so to speak, people end up coming around in the end, because a lot of times it's just skepticism about, you know, their precious child being with somebody, especially if it's serious. So I just think it's important to not let weight take over this, because it's still going to be hard. Even if you're thin, it's still a challenge. And I think that that's really, really important. Like, you know, and I trust me, there are actual genuine prejudices and there are actual issues at play when it comes to romantic choice and all these different things. And those are a totally different discussion, because I refuse to accept that weight is even similar to those things. So I'm not even going to go there. Honestly, it's just ridiculous to me to even go there. But what I will make the comparisons of is other personality flaws or things that people would have an issue with. You know, even something like they don't like the job that your partner has, or they don't like something about your partner's past, or they don't like something about your partner's family. I mean, it can go so deep, you know? But I think to compare those things to something like racism or homophobia, or, you know, like things that have actual real prejudicial pressures, at times where it was very dangerous to, you know, have interracial marriage, for example, or be gay or whatever, that kind of stuff. There were times where it was very dangerous to do those things, and sometimes the legacies of that can haunt a little bit deeper. But I still will always refuse to put weight anywhere near that category. And if you are somebody like myself and you do have that issue haunting you, you certainly don't want weight to be a part of the equation when it isn't necessary at all. You know, lighten the load a little bit, so to speak. Because there's no reason, if I already have these barriers, I don't need to add another one that I'm making up in my own head. And if you don't have those barriers, you don't need to add a barrier that doesn't exist either. And again, nobody is not judged for who they choose. That does not exist. And it's so hard for people to understand sometimes. And I just cannot even believe that the issue of weight is being shoehorned into this in this way. But I won't allow it. I won't. We're not allowing it here. We're not allowing it. You're literally getting married anyways. So your whole video is full of shit. Thank you for my TED Talk. Let's see what else you have to say.
Too much into something. And unfortunately, like, reading the comments, you realise that, like, oh, this is, unfortunately, seems to be a really common experience for fat people. And there is something so validating in realising that you're not alone. And I hope through these videos you feel less alone. It fucking sucks. I also want to just let you know, fucking say to that, fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. I'm not sure.
It's very annoying to be like, I solved this issue for myself, but it sucks for all of you, and I'm going to offer no solutions whatsoever or actual deep thoughts. That's basically what we just got, and I will criticize her for that. That was a really shitty take. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will talk to you guys again soon. Let me know what you think. As always, I'm always interested in your thoughts on this. But that was my thoughts. I will see you guys later. Bye.